Welcome to the PJ Hoop Podcast. I'm your host, PJ, and if this is your first time checking out my podcast, first and foremost, I want to thank you for taking the time out of the day to check out my podcast. I promise you won't be disappointed. Today's episode, we're going to be talking about the NBA Summer League. We're going to talk about the FIBA U18 Euro basketball tournament. And then we're also going to talk about kind of some of the free agents that are still kind of, pending / left on the board for the NBA as well. I thought about for my free agency, I was going to cover the players that either re-sign with their teams or that sign with new teams. But in a couple of weeks from now, I'm going to be starting my season preview where I talk about all 30 teams. I go division by division and I deep dive on every single team. So I'm just that doesn't make sense to do that right now when I can just do that a part of my season preview, So that's why I was I'm going to skip out on that. So we're just going to talk about free agents that have not have not re-signed with their teams or people that are just free agents, right? We'll do that towards the back end of the episode. But before I get started on today's episode, I kind of want to give you guys what to expect, next episode. Next episode, one or two things. I haven't decided what I'm going to do yet. Either A, I'm going to do my very first episode of PJ and Friends, which if you're just now learning or hearing me talk about this, PJ and Friends essentially is going to be kind of like my spin-off episode. And that episode is where I'm going to have people come on. It's going to be friends, people in the community, people that are acquaintances, people that are, just people that I just chop it up with, or people that I've never known before and that just want to talk about sports. So they're going to come on and we're going to talk about basketball. We'll talk about football, probably predominantly those two sports. But don't be surprised if I have somebody come on, talk about some soccer, talk about some hockey, boxing, you name it, golf, so we'll see. That's going to be a more freestyle type of episode. I'm really excited to do that. My first two guests are going to be two of my dearest friends. I consider them brothers. They've been my best friends for over 15 years. So they're going to come on and we're going to talk about our NFL playoff prediction or our playoff teams who we think are going to make the playoffs in the NFL. So that'll be the first episode. I'm just trying to determine if I want to do it next week or if I want to wait a couple more weeks and do it. So it's either going to be that or I'm going to come on here in a couple weeks, and then we're going to talk about the Formula Zero camp. We'll talk about the FIBA U16 tournament, which is getting ready to start tomorrow. There's only one kid in that tournament that I'm really going to be paying attention to. His name is Tourney. I learned about him 2 years ago. He dropped about 70. I think he had 70 or 73 points in a game, and I came across the clip, like I said, 2 years ago. I think it was in April of 2023 or something like that, March of 23. But that's when I first seen something of him. And ever since then, I've kind of just been following him. It looks like he's probably the next big Euro star to come up. He's a scoring dynamo. So I'm very excited to watch him at this camp because he's playing up in competition. He's only 15 and he'll be playing at the FIBA U16 tournament. And he's a native of Croatia. He's Croatian, so I'm excited to watch him. But also, so we'll be talking about the Formula Zero. I'm sorry, I kind of went on a tangent right there for a second, but we'll be talking about the Formula Zero camp, the FIBA U16 tournament, the Elite 24 camp, which takes place in a couple of weeks, and then also the NBA schedule releases in the next about 2 weeks. So one or two things, okay? One or two things are going to happen next episode. I just haven't decided which, so I didn't want to come on here and tell you guys one thing if I'm not sure. I haven't decided how I'm going to go about it because some of these things don't happen to the end of August. And then also with PJ and Friends, schedules got to line up for us to have time to record and talk about these things, talk about the NFL, right? So enough about next episode. Let's just dive straight into today's episode. And so we're going to start today's episode off with the Summer League. Now, with the Summer League, first and foremost, I want to give a shout out to the champs. The Charlotte Hornets won the Summer League title. The Finals MVP was my guy Con Knipple from Duke. So I was really excited to see him win that. But also the Summer League, for the entire Summer League, the MVP of that was also another Duke Blue Devil, Kyle Filipowski of the Utah Jazz. He won the Summer League MVP. I think he led the Summer League in scoring. I think he averaged, I don't have it in front of me. I just have that he won it. But I think he averaged 28, 29 points a game on pretty good shooting efficiency. So shout out to my two Dukies for going ahead and winning that tournament. But I also kind of just want to highlight three players. And obviously there's other players that stood out during the Summer League to me. But again, I like to keep these episodes between 25 to 35 minutes. I try not to make them too long. So I do want to give some love to 3 players, though. Let's start off. One, his name is David Jones Garcia. He's 6'6" shooting guard. He played for the Spurs Summer League team, and to me, it was pretty early on apparent to me that he's a pro. You can just see the way he was moving on the court. The dude's a pro, right? And so I'm interested. I think he ended up signing a 2-way contract with the Spurs, but I would be shocked if he doesn't find his way. I don't know if he's necessarily going to cut the Spurs rotation this year because they are so guard heavy. But I would be stunned if this dude's not getting valuable minutes either on the Spurs or another team at some point in the next 18 months. I would be really surprised, right? I would be pretty surprised. But I kind of just want to give you guys what he ended up averaging at the Summer League. So he played about 25 minutes a game. He averaged 21.5 points on 53% shooting from the field on about 15 attempts. He shot 53% from 3 as well on 7 attempts. He shot 92% from the free throw line on 2.5 attempts. He averaged 4 turnovers and 4 assists a game. This guy's a pro. Just plain and simple, he's a pro. The way he moves, yeah, the pace he plays at, decisiveness, like he's a pro in my opinion. So that's somebody he really popped to me and somebody I didn't know who he was until the Summer League. So I wanted to talk about him. Another player his name is Chris Livingston. He is 6'6". He's a small forward. He plays for the Milwaukee Bucks. He was a highly rated kid coming out of high school. I remember seeing him. He went to Kentucky and they got drafted by the Bucks. Obviously, I've not made really the Bucks rotation. I put him on here because, to me, during the Summer League, he's shown to me that he was somewhat a little bit more comfortable. He looked a little bit more sure of himself on the court. And so I'm very interested because the Bucks need somebody to pop, right? They need some lifeline from one of their young players. They need somebody to step up. So I'm not saying Chris Livingston is going to, but I do want to say I did like what I seen at him out of the Summer League, and I am going to be very so much paying attention to see if he actually cracks the rotation, because I don't expect. I mean, Giannis goes down, this team is toast, but I don't expect much of this team the whole year. We'll see if Giannis can get them, carry them as deep as possible. We'll see, but I'm interested to see if this kid can crack the rotation specifically. I put his name on here specifically for that. I'm just interested to see if he can crack the rotation. Because, like I said, the Bucks needs help somewhere, right? So I want to give you guys what he did during the Summer League. So during the Summer League, he played about 28 minutes a game. He averaged 21 points a game, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal, 3 turnovers. He shot 49% from the field on 15 attempts. He shot 38% from 3 on 5 attempts, and he shot 71% from the free throw line on 5 attempts. Again, I'm just interested to see if he's somebody that can go into training camp and really show, hey, I'm ready. Because this would be I believe this is year 3 for him, if I remember correctly. I think it's year 3. The last guy that I want to talk about from the Summer League, I'm sorry. Oh, man. I've been up since like 3 this morning. But another guy I want to talk about from the Summer League is Nick Clifford. He's 6'5"-ish, small forward for the Sacramento Kings. He went to Colorado State last year. He was on my players to watch list, I think last fall, too, for my top college 30 players I was going to keep my eyes out on. I think he was one of them. But I put Neek here specifically because I don't want to say too much about Sacramento. I don't want to say too much, but Sacramento's kind of stuck in a funky place, And I think Neek being in the second unit, he's going to have the ball in his hands quite a bit, because if you look at their second unit, they have Dennis Schroeder, they have Keon Ellis, they have Neek Clifford, and then I forgot their backup big, who their backup big is, and then who their backup power forward is. I think Drew Eubanks is their backup center, and I forgot who their backup power forward is, but Neek's going to have the ball in his hands a lot in that second unit, I believe. I do think he's going to find his way on the court, because Neek's one of those dudes he's not great at one singular thing. He's not very good at one singular thing either, but he's just very good at a lot of different things. He's just one of those dudes to me, and I do think he's an NBA rotational player. So I'm excited to see what he does, because even during Summer League, he showed that he can do a little bit of everything. So I want to give you guys what he did during the Summer League. So Neek averaged 28 minutes a game. He averaged 15 points, 6.5 assists, 6.5 rebounds, 4 assists. He averaged 1 steal and about a half a block a game with 3 turnovers. He shot 49% from the field on 12 attempts, shot 46% on threes on 4 attempts, and he shot 62.5% from the free throw line on 3 attempts. Again, he's just one of these players that I think I'm going to just keep my eyes out for in training camp and so forth. Because if the Kings decide that they want to blow up their team, Neek is more likely not going to be, and he's going to probably end up in the starting lineup. So he's somebody I'm going to keep my eyes out for going into training camp. And I liked what I seen out of him during Summer League. And there was, like I said, a lot of other players that I enjoyed watching during Summer League. But I just picked these 3 because I think each of them uniquely have something, that is not really talked about, or these players are not really talked about. So I was trying to just dig a little bit. I didn't want to just pick the obvious names who were rookies last year or players that are well known. I try to kind of dig a little bit. So those were 3 players that I really stood out to me. But like I said, there was a plethora of players that I thought showed improvements from last Summer League and even from last rookie season to this year. So my next segment is going to be the FIBA U18 Euro basketball tournament. Last summer, this was my most watched episode. Actually, up to date, I think that's my most watched episode is my FIBA U18 tournament. On that episode, I talked about Kaspar Shakachonis. I talked about Ben Saraf. I talked about Noah Esinge. And it was one other player I talked about. But anyways, it was a hit. It was a hit episode for me. But so today, like I just mentioned to you guys earlier in the episode, tomorrow is the FIBA U16 tournament. I don't know anybody in that tournament except one kid. His name is Tony Garma, so that's the only person I'll be paying attention to in the tournament. He really popped to me a couple years ago. He dropped 73 points in a game, and I was like, to me, you drop 73 points in a basketball game, I don't care where you are in the world, I'm paying attention, right? So I'm interested to see how he plays. He's playing up in competition. He's only 15. But I want to give a shout out to Spain. Spain ended up winning the FIBA U18 Euro Championship. They ended up with a 7-0 record during this tournament. This is their 6th title. This is their 3rd title in the last 5 years. They've dominated. The runner-up, the team that they ended up beating, it was literally a last-second corner shot. They beat France. France ended up with a 6-1 record. And then the team that placed 3rd was Italy. They finished 3rd place. So before I get started on some of the players, I want to let you guys know, and I was debating on if I wanted to or not, but I'm not going to say their last name. I'm going to save myself the time and the headache of trying to pronounce it. I literally spent time off camera trying to pronounce these dudes' last name yesterday, and I was like, ain't no way. Ain't no way I'm going to sit up here and remember how to pronounce their last name. So what I am going to do, and it actually is probably going to be best for you guys as well, is up in the corner, I will leave kind of like a small bio description of the players. It'll have a picture of them. It'll have their name, their height, and their country. So that's actually going to be better for you guys. But I'm just going to pronounce their first name. If you're that interested in their last name, it'll be right up in the corner just so you guys know. All right. So we'll start off with first player on the winning team. He played for Spain. His name is Ian. Ian ended up winning. He actually won the MVP of the tournament. He basically the finals MVP of the tournament. He'll be playing actually in America at Davidson next year. And they call him Baby Pau Gasol, and honestly, I can see why they call him that. No, he does not have Pau Gasol's shooting touch by any means. He only shot 45% from the free throw line throughout this tournament. But I can see why they call him that, because the way he moves with the ball in his hands, the way he passed out of the pick and roll, the way just his spin moves, the way his post moves are, I can see why they call him that. I can see it for sure. But his shooting touch got to catch up, no doubt. But I wanted to give him a shout out because I liked what I seen out of him out of the tournament. He really has to improve his form and his jump shot, which hopefully at Davidson they're able to help him grow in that. But yeah, that's a player. He'll probably be on my radar next year. I don't know what Davidson's depth chart's looking like, so I don't know if he's somebody that's going to get a lot of minutes or not. But he was somebody that did impress at this tournament, and that Spain team was super deep, but he was for sure at the head of the snake of that team. I'm very mad, and I'm kind of going to go to France for a second. I'm super mad that I didn't get to watch Adam Admanya. I talked about Adam Admanya during the NBA season. I came on here and talked to you guys about him. He's somebody that I'm very high on him. I just enjoy his game, the way he plays. He plays for France. He's French. It's unfortunate because he got hurt. I think the second game of the tournament he got hurt. But I think if France would have had him, I think they would have won, truth be told. I think he's that good of a player. But even in the game that he played, his last game he played was against Sweden. He lit them up. He had 18 points in about 15 minutes. He's a scorer, man. To me, he's an NBA player. How good of an NBA player? I'm not going to sit up here and tell you guys that. I don't know how good of a player necessarily he quite is, not yet. But I know he's an NBA player in my opinion, and he scores, man. That kid's a scoring dynamo, and he's a killer. He has a killer mentality. I think he's like 6. Adam is, I think he's like 6. I think he's about 6'5". I think he's about 6'5", 6'6". But yeah, I've been a fan of his since last. I think I learned about him last summer or last fall is when I learned about him. But I really like him. He's gonna for sure be in the 2026 NBA draft. I'm pretty sure of that. And I wouldn't be surprised if he goes top 15. I wouldn't be surprised by that. That's how high I am on him. But the next player that I want to talk about is Maxis. He's 6'2" point guard. He played for France, and he was kind of the head of this France team with Adam being out. He was their next best player, in my opinion. He actually won all-tournament tourney. He was on the all-tournament team. During the tournament, he averaged 15 points, 5 assists, 3 rebounds, 1 steal, only a half a turnover. He shot 39% from the field. He shot 48% on twos. He shot 27% on threes on 4 attempts. But then he also shot 88% from the free throw line on 6 attempts. He had an insane assist to turnover ratio. It was 9-1. And even watching him, like, he was just the old school floor general, in my opinion. I really enjoyed watching him kind of orchestrate and find his way around the court. All his turnovers, by the way, came in the first 3 games of the tournament. The last 4 games of the tournament, he didn't record a single turnover. And also, I want to let you guys know, too, that I believe his jump shot is better than that 27% for sure, in my opinion. Because he also plays for a French team. I think they're called... It's France. It's in I think it's in Strasbourg. I think is the team he plays for. But I know over on that team, he shot about 38% from 3 on like 6 attempts. And then from the free throw line, he shot 83%, I think also like on 6 attempts. So he's a better shooter than those numbers say, for sure, in my opinion. He is 18 years old, and I am interested to see if he decides to declare for the draft next year. This is the first time I learned about the kid, so I don't want to come on here and tell you guys, yeah, he's an NBA player, because I don't know. But I do think Adam is, no doubt. Adam's an NBA player. But this kid, I don't know if he is, but he was somebody that I really enjoyed watching at the tournament. And this fall, I think he's playing for the same French team. I'll be kind of paying more attention to him and see if he can carve out and to become like an NBA, maybe a backup point guard for a team. He's a lefty, so I'm interested just to, I'll be keeping my eyes out on him now. Now I know who he is, because he had a really good showing at this tournament, in my opinion. So the next player that I want to talk to you guys about, his name is Diego. I'm not going to try to pronounce his last name. He's 6'6", small forward / power forward. He played for Italy. He was for sure Italy's best player, in my opinion. He actually led Italy in points, rebounds, and steals. And he also had a game where he had 8 steals against Serbia. And Serbia finished, I believe, 5th in this tournament. So, about middle of the pack. But 8 steals is 8 steals, in my opinion. I believe next year he's going to be playing for the ULM in Germany this upcoming year. So he's also going to be on my radar. To me, he could potentially be a 3-and-D type of player, is what I think he's projected out to be. I don't know if I see him being more than that, but a 3-and-D player for sure. I want to tell you guys what he averaged at the tournament. So at this tournament, he averaged 14 points, 7.5 rebounds, which those rebounds puts him 5th in the tournament. He averaged 2.5 assists. He averaged 3 steals, 1 block. He shot 48.5% from the field. He shot 51% on twos, 42% from 3 on 3 attempts. He shot 70% from the free throw line on 5 attempts. And across all the other tournaments that he's played in, his free throw shooting is actually slightly better than that. He actually shot 75% from the free throw line across 24 games. And during those 24 games, he shot 37% from 3. So like I told you guys, I think if he does decide to come to the NBA, I don't know what his plans are. But if he does, I think he projects to be a 3-and-D player and probably a very solid one. He has a pretty nice stature to him, in my opinion. But that was another person that kind of just popped to me at the tournament. Another player that I want to talk about, I'll talk about two more players with you guys. His name is Matthew. I'm not going to try to pronounce his last name. But he's going to Ohio State this fall. He played for Germany. And this dude, I mean, when we talking about getting buckets, this dude was getting buckets. I mean, pure buckets all tournament long. All he was trying to do was get buckets. Okay, he didn't care about nothing else. He was strictly about his buckets. But so I want to kind of give you guys what he averaged at the tournament. Like I said, I know I keep saying he had buckets, but man, he was getting buckets. For I was just watching, I was like, man, this dude he's just trying to get on the scoreboard. He don't care. And I respected him for that. By the way, he's 6'4". But yeah, so he averaged 24 and a half points per game, which led the overall tournament. He averaged 9 rebounds, which was second in the tournament. He averaged 4 assists, 4 turnovers. He averaged 1.5 steals. He shot 44% from the 44% from the field. He shot 56.5% on twos. He shot 21% on threes on 7 attempts. And then he shot 80% from the free throw line on 8.5 attempts. And I'm very interested to see, again, does he get minutes at Ohio State? My brother's Ohio State basketball fan and football fan, so I don't know what their depth chart is like, so I don't know. But I would be surprised if he doesn't get minutes at Ohio State. I'm going to be honest with you. To me, at this tournament, he was doing just about anything he wanted. And Garner, obviously the competition is less than. But even in less than competition, you could tell if a player is like, okay, he's a college player, right? Or, oh, he's an NBA player. Or, oh, he's, like you kind of can project out what a player is just based on how they move, at least in my opinion. So I do expect him to get minutes at Ohio State, and he's for sure going to be on my radar being at Ohio State moving forward. And also, I just want to give you guys this too, a larger sample size for his three-point shooting, because I know this tournament didn't really do him justice at the three-point line. Larger sample size, he actually shot 33% on threes over 35 games in all Euro comp. He shot 76% as well from the free throw line during that span as well. And to me, his jumper, I mean, even his jumper, I feel like his jumper screams louder than 33% from three, in my opinion. I think it's actually better than that, if I'm being honest with you guys. But yeah, so that's another player that will be on my radar going into this college basketball season. The last player that I want to talk to you guys about, his name is Mark Morano. He's a 6'5", I would say 6'5" I would say shooting guard / small forward is what Mark Morano is. To me, his jumper's honest, man. It's very honest. He, for sure, in my opinion, he was, out of all these players that I just talked to you guys about, to me, he popped the most to me. He's the best prospect, in my opinion, out of all these dudes, in my opinion. That's what he was to me throughout this whole tournament. I came across Mark Morano, I think maybe 2 months ago is when I came across him, 2-3 months ago. So I was actually surprised to see him playing at this tournament. I don't know if I said it already, but he played for Slovenia. Shout out to Luka. But yeah, so I'm interested. He's for sure somebody that really just popped to me. His everything. I mean, the way he moved, his finishing. He was the best prospect, in my opinion, at this tournament. For me, this year, he was the best player. At the tournament, he averaged 20 points. He averaged 2 rebounds, 1.5 assists. He averaged 1 steal, 1 turnover. He shot 60% from the field on 13 attempts. He shot 71% on twos. He shot 49% from threes on 6 attempts. He shot 79% from the free throw line on 2 attempts. And then a larger sample size across all Euro games that he's played, which is a 20-game sample size. He shot 76% from the free throw line, and he shot 40.5% on threes. Like I told you guys, his jumper is just very honest. He's a very solid player. I don't know what he's planning on doing next year. I don't know if he's going to college. I don't think he is, or if he's staying overseas. But he's for sure somebody that's on my radar, and I'm interested to see if he decides to put himself in the 2026 NBA draft, because I think he's also an NBA player. But yeah, so that's all I got for you guys for my FIBA U18 Euro tournament. I chose these players. Some of these players I've known about. Other players were new to me. So you guys let me know down in the comment section below, what players did you really like from this tournament? And who are you looking forward to watching at the FIBA U18 tournament? So my last segment is going to be talking about the NBA free agency. So like I told you guys, I kind of just want to talk about players that are still free agents, basically, or players that are restricted free agents is what I really want to talk to you guys about. This segment won't take too long because, I don't have too much to say. I think a lot of it is, I'm not going to sit up here and just talk a bunch of mumbo jumbo to you guys. But I want to start off with the players that I believe can still be rotational players for teams, if that's just being a rotational piece just for the regular season, or players that could potentially be playoff rotational players. And to me, I define a rotational player in the regular season. Most teams go, 9-10 deep during the regular season, whereas during the playoffs, they go I would say about 7 to 8 deep during the playoffs. So let's start off. One player I think is, can still give value to a team is Gary Payton Jr. To me, GP2, he's somebody that a team still can use. And even during the playoffs, I think Gary Payton II can come in and give you, maybe 7-8 minutes during the playoffs of just pure energy and very intensive defense. I'm interested to see if he gets re-signed by Golden State, or I know Golden State's kind of waiting for Kuminga, which we'll talk about Kuminga in a second, but I think GP2 for sure can still help some NBA teams out. So I'm interested to see. Yeah, I'm interested kind of to see what happens with him and see if a different team maybe steps up and signs him, because I think he's still a rotational player for a team in the playoffs or in the regular season. Another player is Cam Payne. We've seen what Cam Payne has done in playoff moments. He did it with Phoenix last year. He did it with the Knicks. I think Cam Payne is still an NBA rotational player as well. I don't know what his price tag is, but I think he still, again, can give a team, if not even during the playoffs, if you don't want him in the playoff rotation, he's still an NBA regular season rotational player in my opinion. So I'm kind of surprised that he's still kind of dangling around as well. And then another player he's always injured is Malcolm Brogdon. Now, Brogdon's one of those ones where if he's healthy, you still got quality. You still, can be a pretty quality player, but he's always hurt. So I understand why he's here. But if I'm a team and I have, the veteran mid-level, which I think it's only like $5 million. I think is the veteran mid-level. I think it's like $5 million. I would give Brogdon $5 million. I think, again, if Brogdon's healthy, he can be a rotational player for a team. Another player is Al Horford. I know he's kind of waiting to try to go sign with Golden State, so I'm not going to talk too much about him. Precious Achiuwa. I think Precious Achiuwa, I don't know if I want Precious Achiuwa. I don't think I want him in my playoff rotation, but somebody that can soak up some regular season minutes for some power forwards, for my starting power forward or my starting center. Yeah, I think he still can give a team that value during the regular season. And then Russell Westbrook. I know he's looking at one of the California teams potentially. I'm just surprised, again, that nobody signed him yet either. I think Westbrook is still somebody that can come off the bench and give you, 15 minutes of high-energy basketball. So, those are just some of the players that I'm, kind of just keep my eyes out for, because I think these are players, they're not moving the needles by any means, but I do think they could add value to a team's regular season or even their playoff, come in and win a playoff. I ain't saying these players can win playoff games. I think Cam Payne can still get hot in a playoff game. I think Westbrook can. Brogdon, I think, potentially can. So I guess a couple of these guys I can see coming in and really helping a team win a playoff game, But, obviously they're not moving like crazy needles or anything. But, those are players I'm just, kind of surprised that they're still on the board. But also some of the reasonings, I get it, Another player I want to talk about, let's talk about the restricted free agents, because obviously that's where the real conversations around, and that's what's pretty much holding up the rest of the free agent signing. One is being Jonathan Kuminga. Just Jonathan Kuminga thing it's not even a surpriser at all. I mean, if you've been paying attention to what Golden State, how they've been doing him the last couple years, I mean, it's pretty evident that him and Steve Kerr don't mix. The offense does not fit his play style, and that's okay. That's okay. I kind of feel bad for him just because he's kind of being subject to, he's kind of restrained. He's restrained. He kind of has to re-sign with Golden State. Golden State won't trade him. But I do think he has value. I think Kuminga is a starting level player. Is he more than that? I don't know. I haven't decided yet if he's more than just a starter quite yet. I don't know if he's an all-star or all NBA player. I don't think he's an all NBA player, no. But can he be an all-star? Maybe. I think Kuminga has an all-star potential still in him. But it's looking like what's going to have to happen. And Kuminga looks like, I think he's just going to have to bet on himself. I think he's going to have to take that qualifying offer, which I think is for like $7 million, which, you can't get mad at. I mean, after taxes and stuff, it's only like $3.5 million, shout out to California. But if I'm Kuminga, I'm just signing that offer, and one of two things. He can be a poor sport and sit on the bench and be, give little to no effort and just preserve himself for off season so he doesn't potentially put himself in harm's way on the court this year, or he can go out and make Golden State look silly and try to go crazy. So I guess for me, more so, because he's going to stay with Golden State, it looks like, I'm interested just to see character-wise, how does he respond to this? That's what I'll be paying attention to Kuminga about. Next player is Josh Giddey, young Diddy. I know Chicago, I don't know if they ended up extending him quite yet, but I did see something that said that they're looking at extending Josh Giddey. I don't know. I'm not paying Josh Giddey no $30 million, truth be told. I think Josh Giddey's, I would give him $20 million. I would not give him no $30 million personally. And also, if I'm Chicago, I don't want to say too much because obviously I got my Chicago season preview, but long story short, I would not spend that money on Josh Giddey if I were them. I know they gave up what they gave up for him, but I would personally just make him sign the restricted offer. And if I was Chicago, I would just try to set it up to where I can draft my point guard in next year's draft if I'm Chicago, because you have your one of your forwards in Buzelis, and you clearly think high of Noah Isinge. You think you're very high on him too. So you got your two forwards filled out. So to me, it's like, okay, now we need guards, and do they want to extend Kobe White? I'm trying not to say too much because I have something to say about Kobe White too, but I'm not going to say it. Anyways, if I'm them, I am not signing Josh Giddey to no long-term deal. I wouldn't do it. I just wouldn't do it. I would rather bet on next year's draft and get my point guard out of that draft if I were them. But that's just me. It looks like they're going to extend him anyways, though. Next player I want to talk about is Cam Thomas. So Cam Thomas of the Brooklyn Nets, I was high on him coming out. He went to LSU. He led the SEC in scoring as a freshman. I was high on Cam Thomas even at LSU, even coming out. And this whole thing in Brooklyn, I already knew his time was up when they decided to draft all those guards. I knew his time was up. His time's been up for a couple years now in Brooklyn. I think it's a character thing, to be honest. I think character-wise, they don't like who he is as a person, which is fine. That's fine. They have their opinions on him. They know more about him than we do. But I do want to say this, and I doubt it's going to happen, but I want to say this before. I just want to say this, right? So with Cam Thomas, I think Cam Thomas needs to go. If I were the Los Angeles Lakers, I would be trying to get Cam Thomas in a Lakers uniform. Hear me out. I say him because, yes, obviously him and Luka defensively, yes, are going to have their issues or whatever, and that is what it is, right? You can build a team around low defensive guards. You can do that. But I'm saying him because I would rather have him next to Luka than Austin Reeves, which might be a hot take for some of you guys. Yes, I know Austin Reeves. Austin Reeves is a better defender than Cam Thomas. He's I would say even a better playmaker than Cam Thomas. But when it comes to and let's talk about what works next to Luka. We've seen the kind of players that work next to Luka for Luka to go far. Jalen Brunson, Kyrie. These are scoring shooting guards, undersized shooting guards. I would love to see them get Cam Thomas next to Luka. One, age. Cam Thomas is 24. Luka's 20. Luka's 20, what, 6? I think Luka's 26 or 25. I think Luka's 26. But age, I think his play style, I think Cam Thomas is more likely to give you that 23 to 27 point per game range is his range. Whereas I think Austin Reeves is between 17 points and 21 points, right? Like Austin Reeves is not, I think Austin Reeves is kind of capped out what he is as a player. And I just think I think Cam Thomas is a better scoring dynamo next to Luka. That's just my opinion. And you can get him for cheaper than you can get Austin Reeves. Austin Reeves is asking for what, like $35 million a year or something. You can get Cam Thomas. I think Cam Thomas only wants like $25 million or $30 million maybe. Like, I would rather give the $30 million to Cam Thomas than give $35-40 million to Austin Reeves. That's my preference. That's my opinion. And so that's why I'm saying if I'm the Lakers, I would try to get Cam Thomas if I can. Otherwise, it looks like Cam Thomas is probably just going to have to sign the offer from Brooklyn and play out the season in Brooklyn, at least for the next couple months until they trade him. But yeah, if I'm the Lakers, I would for sure be trying to get Cam Thomas because you can get him for, you can shed off some of the salary you would have to give to Austin Reeves. And Austin Reeves, if I were the Lakers, I would trade Austin Reeves. But that's that's another conversation for another day. I probably will say this again. I know I will, but yeah, I'm just looking at him like, because we all know somebody's gonna go play with Luka. Like that's a given. And to me, Cam Thomas, I think he would be nice next to Luka. That's just my opinion. Last play I want to talk to you guys about is Quentin Grimes. Quentin Grimes, had a really solid back end of the year with a Philly team that was straight up tanking. Philly clearly doesn't have the money to give him, and even if they did, I don't know if they would give it to him. He thinks he's worth, I think, like $25 million is what I was seeing, or $30 million, and he's not. He got to show more, right? He's always shown like glimpses of it, of what he could do. On New York, he did. On Dallas, he did. And then obviously Philadelphia really gave him the platform really to run. But I'm assuming what's going to happen with Quentin Grimes is, again, he's probably going to have to sign the offer from Philly. And if I'm Philadelphia, I'm ecstatic, right? You're going to get somebody like that coming off your bench. I would be ecstatic. And obviously he's going to walk in free agency, or if Philly decides to trade him, before the trade deadline. I think that's not a bad option for them either. But Quentin Grimes is one of these guys. I'm not giving him no $30 million. I think Quentin Grimes, $15 million to $17 million, I think is appropriate for a player of his caliber. I would not overpay for him, and it looks like he's gonna just have to play in Philly on the restricted offer. But this is one of these players, like, he's one of these guys that, if he is on Philadelphia, he's a guy that can win you a playoff game, or he can win a playoff game for Philadelphia. And I wouldn't be shocked if he does. Obviously, we'll see what happens with Joel and Paul George. They're hurt. But, yeah, Quentin Grimes, if they can get him to come back and just sign that offer and then let him walk next summer, if I'm Philadelphia, I am fine with that. And so that concludes this episode of the PJ Hoop Podcast. I am your host, PJ, and PJ is out.